personality will spill over. If somebody hurt you in the past and you meet that behavioral suggestion down the line, you will act it out. Unless you are taking a conscious, deliberate, aware thinking. The solution is to all become less irritable. Let's work on the psycho-emotional layers before the day of any perceived attack or whatever. I'm sorry I have to leave shortly, but this is a
No,
conversation that's worth having. Thank you, everyone. Enjoyed and learned a lot.
thank you. I love your comments, especially if you don't forgive those who hurt you, you bleed on those whom you meet and those who love you. I tell you, it's a scary thought, right? I'm allergic to blood, by the way, so the idea of bleeding on people is like, no thanks. Anyway, Sean, please. Thanks, Coach. Thanks for joining us. Sharing gems as always, my friend. So do connect afterwards. Do connect with each other.
So let's see if I can remember exactly the spark that launched when Anthony was talking. But part of it was around the idea that often what we're feeling, like when someone says something and we're feeling angry, or if you're saying something and they're angry at you, as I think Anthony was saying, like the temper, I don't remember what it was, the child throwing the tantrum. It's like a resonance, right? If you vibrate a tuning fork at a certain frequency, all you have to do is get it into proximity of a similarly tuned fork and it will start vibrating. And this is what happens. And it's not just toddlers. I've seen it happen with adults. One adult goes up here, the other one goes up here. Next thing you know, they're ready to kill each other and they don't even remember what started the fight. I've seen it in 30 years of marriage. There's times like, why are we fighting over this? Like, this is like, what started this argument? So the thing is to look, when you're feeling triggered, neuroscience shows that emotion lasts 90 seconds. After 90 seconds, that emotion's gone. The reaction in your body, it's gone. Unless you decide to rehash it in your brain. So when you keep replaying it, oh, Annie pissed me off. Annie's a jerk. Annie's a blah, blah, blah. Guess how you're going to feel about Annie all the time. So the question to ask ourselves is, what is the need in me? What is the boundary that this person is crossing with this action, this comment, etc.? And the other thing is those traumas, they could be from when you were 3 years old. They could be your grandma's traumas when she was 3 years old, to be honest, because they've shown that this energy is passed down through DNA, generation to generation. The Bible actually says, I will visit the sins of the fathers to the generation after generation. And I used to go crazy. I'm like, what? He's going to punish me for my dad's mistakes? But now I realize that, yes, the things that I don't even know what happened, but they happened in my lineage and they affect who I am and how I do things today. Unless I take control and look at it and say, I am not going to do that. Thank you, Eddie.
Thank you, Sean. I was somewhere else. And I said, look, I was trying to type in the comments, which I will get up there. What I take from that, Sean, is let's refresh our emotions every 90 seconds. Literally. This is what I'm trying to say. We can literally let it go. We have to. And yes, what we have to learn, we'll learn, right? Let's learn. I'm not saying ignore everything. I'm saying let's learn our lessons from situations. But if I come back to your point about the tantrum kid, Anthony, let me tell you, my kids don't remember any of their tantrums. And whether I reacted badly or well, no, it didn't really matter at all in the scheme of things. It really didn't matter a single bit, right? And the tantrums, when I laughed at them, when I laughed in their face, maybe not at them, when I was essentially like, get over it. It hasn't caused them a single bit of harm from my perspective, from what I can see, right? It was, as Sean said, the ones where we choose to respond with annoyance, anger. They're the ones that everyone remembers, because it leads. As Tracy May says it so well. Tracy says, "Is a domino effect." That's what I think we can all avoid, right? We can avoid it. Joni, welcome, my friend. How are you doing?
Hi.
What's your take
everyone. I just saw Tracy made a comment. I love you. Glad you're here. I'm glad to be here, and I just really glad to hear everyone's shares, because they're all really valid. I think, gosh, Ron, your story was really touching, and I can tell you, one of my lowest points when I just wanted to just give up, and because my washer and dryer had broken, and I was at the laundromat, and I was almost in tears, and the woman who owns the laundromat gave me a hug. She's like, "It's gonna be okay, yeah, it's gonna be okay." And I'm like, oh my gosh, just the connection of a hug from another human sometimes is really wonderful. And I do not necessarily think it's really hard to separate personal life from business. Especially when you get older and you try to do a business that is yours. So it's not like you're working at a teller at a bank or something. Then that's a job. You just get your paycheck and go. But sometimes when you put your heart and soul into it, it's hard with all the complexities of adulthood, that you can't bring some of that into the office. And I think we've heard from a lot of men, but as a woman, I am super emotional. I am. And so some of the hard things that go on in my personal life, maybe carry out. And I wish I was better at kind of separating them. But I'm not ashamed of that either. And every day, as kind of Annie said, I find a little bit of joy, to just make sure I am okay. I nurture myself. And Annie, I'm sorry, I've been kind of absent. I'm really sorry. I know you're the best, and you are so business focused, and you're really great at it. And I am sorry I've been absent. I am selling my home, and sorry about that. But anyways, Anthony, so here's just one thing I've learned being a parent. So as a young child, you have a ton of synapses going on in your brain, but you have so little memories. And as an adult, you have so many. That's why things get a little fuzzy when you get to around the 43, 53, whatever. And then you're just I know so many people. I have so many memories, hurt, good, positive, negative, whatever. But it is easier for a little kid to get over it, because he's just all right, I know this. I know this is where I live, and this is my mommy, and whatever. I was angry I couldn't get ice cream, but I'll go to bed and wake up and have my Cheerios. And so kids really, they don't have as much clutter in their brain as we do. And I really do think that is a gift, and also something that you should also recognize, that if you are older and feeling the emotive stress from COVID and from whatever else you went through, divorce, selling your home, financial depression, yeah, it's gonna pop back up, and it's hard to separate your brain from that, and it's hard for me. So um, I'm with anyone who feels that way too. But I can't imagine not feeling happy. Like I just trying. Like even in my worst moments, like just knowing that I have a great group of friends around the world, like that's amazing. And that's something that this platform did for me. So thank you. And Annie,
I say thank you. Again, look, that I hope that people don't think we're talking in abstract terms. So let me welcome Rob. Rob, welcome. Joni and I, we're writing Joni's book, right? And look, I'm everyone's friend until I start working with you. When I start working with you, I'm harsh. Let's take these events, for example. My co-host doesn't turn up, normally it's a bit before that. They don't show up to do the planning as we agreed. They don't show that, they don't do inviting. I can't afford to come on the show and be all grumpy, right? Joni, we're working through her books. It's not just one, right? And so, and it's not disagreements. Things happen, right? That's why I look at it, Joni. Now, truly, I don't think about it beyond that. Things happen. Okay, deal with it, Annie. Maybe I can't get what I want today. I'll try again tomorrow. When Joni comes on my show, we'll talk about it and we'll talk about it afterwards, right? So I am trying to learn to just literally not place any judgment on anything. That anything that happens, it happens. Yeah, that's life, right? It's fine. I get over it, right? I think we can all be, we can all be like that. I think we can. I'm hoping I can be more like that. But it's a deliberate choice I'm making to be that sort of person. Sean, I agree with you. Most of the time, people are not intentionally trying to look into offend or hurt. They're not. So maybe somehow, right? There's an intention thing maybe in our conversation, Anthony. And
well, that's like
else.
they're just not evolved. If you actually intentionally try to hurt someone, you're just not evolved as a human being. I mean, that's a normal thing to try to actually be kind to someone. That should be a human thing that you learn.
I agree.
The first thing I want to say is like what we would consider to be evolved is always on like a scale. So we're evolved, but then there's some people looking at us like, and so then now when I look back, just a lot of single millennial mothers and, just not all the times, but just looking at a lot of situations, you'll see where, to like when it comes to like the kid and you were mentioning that, they're just being a child. I've actually kind of been experimenting with different ways, kind of trying to like how to handle that. And the one thing that I did that actually worked was I was just like, I told the kid right away at 3 years old, I was like, I don't like it when you act like that. I prefer you're like boy. And I pointed to my dog. I was like, you see how he is, how he's nice, he's happy all the time. I'd rather you be like him. And I played with him and she saw him. I was like, look at him, be more like that. And literally a little bit later threw a temper tantrum and then looked at boy and like looked at me and kind of did like a fake kind of smile because it wasn't about necessarily even what was going on just inside her mind. It was that inside of her mind, that motor sensory motor, it's the connection between what you have as far as like software options, answers, and what you are familiar with that's going to work. And what you're familiar with that's going to work isn't just an objective action, it's also the subjective feeling. So when you have a kid that can aggravate their parent, then what happens is when they don't get their way, they'll like, okay, I just need to turn it up to the next level. And then they'll turn it up and they'll keep pushing that boundary. And then also simultaneously, the parent that allows that kind of behavior is also really lenient when it comes to discipline. And so when it comes to like, they'll always give them a certain amount of connection to the community. When it comes to any sort of physical thing, they'll do an emotional, they'll make noise and say, hey, don't do that. But they won't actually add any sort of, I guess, contrast to the situation. And so you'll see where a 3-year-old is in a battle with their 30-something-year-old mother and they win. And they win most of the time, which is kind of scary because then, if that's the personality that they start to develop as they get into like school and other places. It's like it's just a different type of, there's a different generational situation that we're dealing with, right? Even when you were 3 years old, there were certain things that you were just forced to face in life. Whereas nowadays, a lot less of that. You don't have to deal with that as much. It's so easy to just have a cell phone thrown in front of your face, and then your little brain can't really, your whole world now is back inside this. So yes, it's good that you're able to get over it, but in you getting over it, you also miss the opportunity to learn from it. And there's just certain things that if you don't learn them between the ages of like, I don't know, I think it's like 2 and like 4 or 5 or something like that, you'll never recover from that. It'll tint what you are for the rest of your life. And so it's like, how do we at our elevated level, how do we bring what we know down to a level that is the closest kind of connected to us that needs the most help?
We need to live it, Anthony. We need to be living examples to the children and grandchildren, ultimately. And to Joe's point, I think sometimes people can be acting out of their trauma or their pain. So again, I try to listen. And if I have time to walk a mile in their shoes, understand what they're going through, because often, and I know this is true of myself, I may be triggered, by something and act a certain way when that's not my intent. Certainly my intent is to be as loving and as gracious as possible. But, if I'm in the middle of my mess and I'm heavily triggered, I may act out of that pain instead of my higher evolved self. And to Anthony's point, I think one of the things that we're missing, and I think it's a reaction maybe to previous generations maybe being overly strict, is that we've become maybe way too lenient. And so I think one of the things that we should be doing, and I agree that should happen as early as possible, but one of the other things is we need to be teaching our young people, so as they progress through their teens, maybe slightly before, that that they need to take responsibility for their actions. And in order to be productive citizens, we need to be raising our children that way. And unfortunately, through all sorts of reasons and potential excuses, that's happening. And so, yeah.
Can I ask you a question? Okay, so my parents were great parents, and they, but I watched so much freaking TV growing up. I could name every cartoon there is, and they just didn't want us to bother them, and we had 3 channels, and it was totally cool. And then they'd push us outside, and we would play outside, and that was the end of it. Like, it wasn't like hardcore parenting, where today's generation, there's such helicopter parents out there that really have their kids scheduled down to a T, that I don't think it's that different to let a kid watch some YouTube. And it's just like me watching cartoons, I guess, because that's what the screen was in front of me. And I certainly wasn't pushed out to a sport every single day. And I also, learned to play and get along with the people that were around me. And that's, I think, what makes me a better business person, because I'm pretty accepting of everyone. Like, I like all different personalities. As long as, you're human and kind, and just like try to understand different points of view. But I mean, gosh, I think it's so similar.
Joe, how did you learn that lesson, though, is the question. Did you learn that on the playground through socialization? Did you?
No, I definitely learned it from like watching the Smurfs.
Okay.
I'm just kidding.
I'm a little worried that we would be raising children from. I guess my point is,
I love watching cartoons in the Saturday morning. Oh my gosh,
I'm not.
It was like 4 hours mesmerized.
I watched a different set of cartoons as a child, but anyway, my point is,
I watched like Bewitched and stuff. If you're like thinking that I'm younger, but I don't think it's bad that kids have some zone out time, because like honestly, the amount of homework that comes home with my kids and the amount of pressure that my daughter's under to get into a good school, the amount of pressure that I'm under to pay for a good school is actually insane. I want her to zone out, and like they are so actually versus my generation, which high school in the 90s, it was a lot about drinking and partying and whatnot. I got into a good school. I turned out semi-okay. And, but my kids, it's like, they don't drink, they don't party, they don't do anything. Like no one's having sex. Like it's crazy, actually. They've actually returned that road, I feel like, from how I grew up. And it just may be my own.
No. Oh no, the Gen
I'm
Z
sorry.
is
We'll keep moving, but
Gen Z is a bit different, right?
it's okay. I think everyone has their own experiences and own personal kind of wonderful moments.
Sure,
and
I'll come to you next, my friend. Sure.
I'm done. Sorry.
I do have one
Sorry.
point. If I could, there's a quick difference though. I think the big problem is there's a disconnect between what they feel and the real world. So even though you could get lost in cartoons for a while, there's a commercial and it comes on at this time. There's this, it's scheduled and you can flip through these channels, but that's it. That's for them. Every time they put their finger at the bottom of the screen and they swipe up, that's taking advantage of their dopamine circuit. And so they're
Definitely true. We would call saves on like our side of the couch. Savesies, we're going to the bathroom. Bye.
Possibly, right. Hold on. Let's Sean. I love when Sean twitches. When Sean twitches, I can't not see, right? Go on, Sean. Please tell us. What are you thinking? And
well, there's a few things. It started with Anthony.
Yes.
It started with Anthony's share. And from what I know, the first 7 years is when all the behaviors, all the formation happens. Basically, after 7 years, it's not impossible to shift, but it gets harder and harder every year that passes. Like that first 7 years is when we're forming kids. I'm a father, a Gen X father, raising a generation alpha. As some people know, I have a 7-year-old son. Yeah, Saturday morning, I was in front of the boob tube watching Schoolhouse Rock and whatever else. YouTube is not the same. Not even close. I have to closely supervise and have discussions with my son all the time about watching certain things, because the reality is that part of our brain, that higher level of the brain, doesn't develop until you're 25. It doesn't fully develop until you're 25. So that right, wrong, and the truth of the matter is, terms like not evolved, my parents are great, who defined them? Whose definition are we going on? Because, I don't eat dogs. I love dogs. I pet them, I keep them. But there are countries where they eat dogs. And it's perfectly normal. So again, it's perspectives, I might hate the president. I might love the president. That's my opinion.
Yeah, either way, it doesn't really matter.
Perspective. I can get caught up in that. But, one thing I learned in my life and my teaching, as far as the tantrum, I have a reminder on my wall that says, ask yourself, how am I at cause for what happened to me? Whatever the situation is, my kid's flipping out, whatever, it doesn't matter. How did I cause it? What did I do? What are the things that I might have thought, believed, done, said that precluded this situation? And the other thing is male, female, yeah, but the reality is it's energy. I can very much operate in my feminine energy, and most of my early life I was not masculine at all. My wife was the masculine energy, and it made our relationship very challenging. And the other thing is, to close before we pass it on, our memories are not like our camcorders or cameras. They are not recording. They're getting snippets that it's like AI, kind of. You know, how many times does AI hallucinate something because it got this bit and this bit and this bit, and it put the pieces together and say, oh yeah, this.
You're
Our brains
absolutely
work the
right.
same way.
You just all you have to do is ask one of your siblings, like, what happened in this moment. They will remember it so different than how you remember it. And I'm like, no, I know this happened. And they're like,
They're like,
no,
nah.
no.
Look,
Well, not to mention, Joni, my wife, I was working with my wife. She had this something that happened like when she was 6, and it caused, you know, an effect in her life today. It's kind of like Annie talking about a fear of snakes. I hate snakes. I was in the jungle one day taking a leak, and I said, oh, look at that green vine. It's very green. Oh, that's not a vine. I got a stick and beat that sucker upside the head.
Oh my goodness.
Because I didn't want him to eat my chickens. But that's another thing.
We tend to behead this thing. That's I'm not going to lie, right?
But we were able to do an exercise with her to go back into that memory, rewrite the meaning of it. We're not erasing it. We're not taking it away. The goal is there's learning in the memory, but we don't have to carry the pain, the anger that comes with it. And I've also learned in my life, you know, Anthony illustrated it when he talked about dealing with the 3-year-old throwing a tantrum. And the most successful person in any situation is the most flexible. If what you're doing isn't getting the results you want, change your tack.
Yeah, I agree entirely.
I mean,
I say one thing
that my mom and her sister was so mean to her, and I was just about 7, and so I was the oldest, and I knew how much my mom was hurting, and I've held on to that for so long. And my sisters will go visit my aunt, and they don't remember, they have no idea. And so I can't forgive my aunt for hurting my mom because I saw her crying so many times. And so it is true that like those little memories change you and change you also to become more compassionate and a leader in whatever you're doing. So
I love to know you say compassionate. I mean, that's an important word. Anthony, I don't know what this is. I don't know what this means. I'll come to you. I don't know what this, I want to let's tidy this point up, and then we can go on from there, right? I may say I'll let you say what you're going to say. Then we'll go to Andre. I'd love to hear from Gladys, from Philip, and from Ron, of course, right? But Anthony, now here's what I take away from what you said, my friend. And even building on what Sean said. Look, we were young parents, my wife and I. Our first 2 kids, they survived. They're still here. They still talk to us, which is a mystery to us. Yeah, but our youngest is 16 now, which is a good 15 years later, right? We learned. She reminded me yesterday because we're so much calmer now than we were when we were so young. We just didn't know how to be very good parents. That's the truth, right? But if I come back to your thing, like the way you pointed to your dog as well behaved, here's what I take from Anthony, is that when we act from a place of compassion, as Jonah just said, right? A place of kindness, a place of, the other way to be what my dad would have done. Smack in the head, smack again. It's like, oh, now you've abused me, right? I'm calling social services. I'm saying that's different. That's the other way, right? Whereas now your way was simply, your intentions were always good to that kid, right? They will learn, of course they learn something from it. Maybe they won't behave like that all the time, but I think we have to carry on giving humanity that goodness. And ultimately it comes down to how much do we really love the people around us. If we don't love our kids, we can't teach them anything. And they will grow up traumatized, as everyone's mentioned so far, right? That's what happens. Joni, forgive your aunt. Let it go. Seriously, it's gone. It's gone. It's long gone. Let it go. It does you no good.
I wish I could. I just remember my mom crying on the stoop. Like, I remember
you're gonna have to let it go. I promise.
It's
whether
hard.
you can do it today or that you do in 10 years' time or in 20 years' time, you're gonna have to let it go. It's gone.
I will let someone else come up on stage, but I thank
It's
you.
gone.
I'll
Hey,
still
can I
listen,
answer that?
but thank you. And my gosh,
Go on, please, Philip. I hear you. Look, let's Philip, go on, please. Please feel free.
The energy that you're putting into doing or to thinking about something that happened when you were a small child is taken away from what you gained from it. And once you start looking at, well, okay, it was a horrible situation, but what did I gain from it? That freaks people out because they get focused on what they lost. Well, you know what? That's where the whole thing about switching it over and understanding that your job's not to judge anybody. It's accept people for who they are and then move forward. And it is hard.
I am not. I'm not there yet with my aunt. I don't know if I'll ever be there, but I appreciate that thought. I've kind of not thought of it in that way. So thank you.
Well, it
Here's
helps
one
with
thing I have to think of.
therapy.
Have you ever thought to yourself, have you ever been in a situation where you treated someone not the best and thought to yourself, how did I feel in that moment? Was I like healthy, happy, and just decided to shit on that person, so to speak? Or was I basically like bubbling from the inside? There was something that I couldn't take within myself, and so I had to put that on somebody else. To sit there and make someone cry and then to just keep doing it, that's a reflection of the pain that's inside. So just because they're not showing those tears doesn't mean that they're not white knuckling it the whole way home or whatever they're dealing with. One of the big things that I kind of want to get back to with the dopamine that's being stolen with these devices makes it very difficult for kids to know the value of taking responsibility, of recognizing that like it's my fault, because the whole idea is like, no, it's someone else's fault. Come get this medication, come to this group, there's this safe space, there's a badge, we're all going to give you attention and feel bad. But if you try to step outside and do anything extra, well, then now you get painted with this bad, why are you asking these questions, why are you stepping out of line, and then you get judged. And so they're getting pushed in this area where it's like you get punished for taking responsibility outside of what you've been prescribed. And when you've been growing up where, I mean, to see a 3-year-old running around with a smartphone just flicking the screen like that, it blows my mind. But their minds are connected to something that even us as adults have trouble dealing with. I heard Andrew Huberman, I don't know if you know Dr. Andrew Huberman or if you dealt with yourself, he has to throw his cell phone on the roof at times just to get it out of his area from distracting him. I myself have, anytime you get to the toilet and you don't want to think about
my phone. I have thrown my kid's phone in the toilet because I'm so frustrated, but it's my own doing.
He paid for it. He paid for that phone.
I pay for it. I am an idiot.
Wow.
Obviously, and all of you guys on the stage are just so smart, and actually have given me a lot to think about. So,
Joni,
we were human.
Joni, I want to leave this with you. You have the power within you to evolve past this situation with your aunt.
Yes. Look, it's true. Look, I say It's our heart and compassion that separates us from other animals, other forms of life, right?
Right.
I mean, that we can give meaning and hope to this journey. As Anthony said, the question to ask, I don't know, it was Anthony, to be honest. What can we learn from the situation? Take the learning, move on. That's it. That's life. That's just what life is. If anyone knows better, let me know. Please speak up now, right?
And Joni, I just want to follow this, and I'm gonna leave you alone. Again, I think when we are allowing that person, whatever the hurt was, even with your mother, which is kind of more powerful because you're doing it on behalf of a third person, that they're taking that energy away from you.
Yeah.
And that's going to reflect, whether you realize it or not, potentially anyway. That's going to reflect in other relationships that you have. It has to. Sooner or later, that's going to come out somewhere, maybe inappropriately, but it's going to impact your relationships somewhere. Maybe it's going to keep you from showing someone that's similar, or the love that they need. And I just think, personally, I think that we're all called to
I think
be.
I'm maybe more loving.
That's fine.
Less
That's fine.
Angry. Like my sisters can get angry. I literally can't get angry anymore. Like, too much shit has gone down. So I do think that made me better as a business person, because I am genuinely like everyone. If they're kind, like that's the weird flip it had in me. Like, I just like, I remember it. I remember my mom feeling sad. I'm gonna let it go. But
Look, you've taken the lesson. This is what does me in. You've taken the lesson. You have taken the lesson. It's turned you into. I always tell my son, rather than saying what that person's doing wrong, say what you don't want to do like them. How you're going to do the better side of that thing, right? And you've done that clearly. Just
for what you learned.
Don't carry the shell with you. Why carry the shell? That's just what I'm thinking, right? It's a rucksack that you don't need to carry. It's not yours. It's gone. It's past. Let's hear from Andre. Andre, thanks for coming on stage, my friend. You've been very patient. Please.
Nah, man.
Yay, Andre! Woo!
Hey, Joni, what's going on?
Hey, what's up?
Hey, everyone. It's awesome. It's awesome. I was actually going to say something off the back of what I think it was Sean who said it earlier on, that the conversation about meaning. And I know when you brought up meaning, it was more in terms of that developmental stage. But I think the principle of that we can take to the present as well. Connecting it to the topic is we got to be really careful what meaning we apply to what's happening around us, whether it's in disagreement, whether it's what we see someone else do, because that's a story that we create for ourselves. So if it's a story, then it means that we have the power to control what story we spin. And it's really difficult sometimes because we assume we have all the information and we often don't. So for example, if I was to disagree with something that Eni said, I'm going to assume certain things, but that's only based on what I've read, what I've experienced, what I assume, all these kind of things. Eni's got a whole different list of experiences that is going to influence how he got to that conclusion. So if we have a disagreement and I decide Eni's just a bad person because he chose this as opposed to what I chose, that's a meaning I'm applying to it. If I'm watching Eni argue with someone else and I'm deciding who is the good person and bad person, that's a meaning based on what I'm processing. And so one of the things that I found personally is to actually, I think I was having a conversation in the chats earlier on. I can't remember, I think it was Felix, something like that, about taking a step back and actually just being curious and asking myself, like, what don't I know about this situation? What if that person has some other information that I don't? And one of my favorite approaches when it comes to disagreements is asking, what is the perspective that neither of us aren't seeing right now? Because mine is just one, theirs is just one. Maybe there's another version of this, which would actually benefit all of us. And then that ends up with me not being like emotionally attached to either one of them, because then it ends up with judgment being passed around, and that doesn't help anyone. The point I made earlier on in the chat is that I was in my head, I had to separate, because for me, disagreements and arguments are two completely different things. I don't have any problem with the disagreements. Like, I found some of my best knowledge comes from disagreements, because I get to learn a different way of looking at things. Arguments are slightly different because they're trying to prove who's right or wrong. And that is often either based on fact or opinion or experiences. And those ones are a little bit harder to, there's a bit more of a process to, what was the word we used earlier? Reconciliation.
Reconciliation and forgiveness.
Exactly. And forgiveness, right? So when you start to put your personal side into it, like your identity, like this is affecting me as a human, then it becomes really personal and really difficult to separate what we're talking about versus my own ego and my view of myself. Nowadays, I'm happy to have disagreements because I know it's got nothing to do with me.
That's right. So Andre,
I
you
love
just
that.
brought back a really good point that assuming makes an ass out of you and
That's
me.
you and me, indeed.
I haven't heard that in a while, and that's so true. You don't know everything, especially as a little kid or as an adult. So you're very, very right.
See, Annie, I've got
Agree
like,
with you. Please feel free. Go, Zara.
Annie, like, I've got like my mom, my mother, my brother, and two nieces and a nephew. So they're like my loved ones, right? Everybody was like disagreements and points they were like sharing. We are going to do this. They're the loved ones. I mean, if they're going to push me to an extent that I don't understand them, or even then I'm going to give, and give. Even the kids, the nephews and nieces. Why? Because I know they are too young to understand everything. But Sarar, you have to be flexible. You have to give it away, even if they're hurting me, because I love them. So the factor of love, I mean, being authentic first as a human, being authentic, then in every relationship, and then being authentic in the business, whatever it is. But somewhere, the ones you love, you have to give. And even if they're hurting you or they're being anything, because they are the ones you're being brought up with. So I don't mind as far as they make me cry, they hurt me with their words, feelings, or anything, because I accepted them as whole, the way they are. So there is no point to, even if they push me in the sea, throw me in the sea. I'm going to swim myself back and stand again in front of them and smile. I'm here, back again. My point is, the ones you love, you can't do anything for them except let the time heal them, and let the time teach them, let the time decide it, and then they're going to come back and say you sorry. And this is what happened most of the times in our cultures. We don't let our parents go away like that. We live with them. We sleep in the same room, We're like that. Even the kids, they're all sleeping in the same room with their grandmother, father, mother. She passed away last year. We lost her. My father also, within like 20 days. So we understand that attachment we have. No matter whatever it is, they hurt you with words or whatever. Mother, what she does, person who sacrificed his self-worth, her identity, her own ID, respect. Now, even if now you're going to give your all wealth away for her, still you cannot relate it. It's too less. So what you can do is love. You can love back, you can be kind, all those life essential skills.
Zara, I agree with you 100%. The word is love, really. That's the word. That's the word. When we learn to come from a place of love, the world, yes, sometimes the world, the snake bites us. Sometimes, but it's rare. When we approach, situations with, I guess, as you're all talking, of course, I would say condolences are, it's a hard loss. Of course, 2 hard losses there, right? But I think that when we approach situations with good intentions, love is the word I use, right? Everything works out. Pretty much everything works out, whether it's parenting, whether it's our pets, whether it's your customers. So maybe this is why I'm talking about this in a business room. This is a business room ultimately, right? Do you truly love your customers? I do. That's why I will let them be.
I'm so sorry. Hold on.
Go on, Jody. Give me a second, Jody. I'll let them be. For the reason you just said, I don't know. I think it was you, Zara, right? We don't know what people. No, it was Andre. We don't know what people think. What people are thinking. I said I'm that person who, when I was younger, you know what is all like. Someone drives past you, like I must go past them again. Dickhead, stop doing that, Annie. I learned not to do that, right? No, did they got me a faster car than all of them? I'm like, I don't know if your wife's giving birth. I don't know why you're racing. I don't care, frankly, but you do you. If that's what you have to do, good luck with that, right? I don't think about them ever again because it doesn't like you said, Andre. It's nothing to do with me. It's not my problem. It's not even a problem. You go past me, I'm still going, right? What's the problem? I don't see the problem. I think that's how I tend to look at life these days. That's what I won't. I don't respond. Why would I, right? But the same. I'm learning I can do this for all of life. That's the point, especially in business. If I have that love in my heart, if I choose not to see things as being at me, I'm a happier person. And let me tell you, this happiness ultimately has a point. The point is that you get more customers. You're happier at your work. Life is just better all around. There's no way of saying it. There's no other way of saying it, really. That's just how. That's my experience. So I guess that's what I'm hoping that we can all go away with today. And literally, maybe let me use the God card, right? We all live, whatever your religion is. I'm not religious at all, by the way. I'm just saying, whatever your religion is, whatever your God is, right? You know that we're all sinners. That's what we're told, right? And God still forgives us for everything we do. I'm not one to believe God's going to punish you one day. I just don't believe that because that's not what God does. God doesn't punish. It's more the love that He gives. Our gods give us. Whether you believe in the universe, same thing, right? It's that capacity to do goodness that I think we can all develop. That's what I'm trying to develop in myself, anyway. Let me stop talking because I would love to know what Ronald thinks. Ronald, I'm glad you came back, my friend. You've been here for a while. We've been all the way through. I'll let you go soon. I really will because I do value your time. I don't want to keep you.
Annie, I will give and give and give and give until it hurts me. I'm going to give and give, whether my customers, relationships, everybody, until it hurts me. It's absolutely fine with me.
But that's why you're a good man. Again, maybe there's a conversation around boundaries we might want to have one day, maybe. But I don't talk of boundaries in my world, in my work. Because what needs to be done, I will do, right? Literally, that's why you find me working at 3 a.m. That's why I go above and beyond. It's all right. I hear you, my friend, and He hasn't killed me so far, right? Let's talk about some practicalities before I give the mic to Ronald. I said you can have it, right? Customers doesn't pay me on time. Terrible. I mean that. I'm devastated, right? I'm annoyed now. Before I used to get so annoyed. I was plotting their death on paper in front of me, right? Now I learned a lesson. Guess what lesson I learned? It's not about them not paying you. If my process hasn't been done properly by me, or the truth is I haven't got enough customers. Think of a real business. They got so many customers. One person not paying makes no difference. 100 not paying makes no difference. That's where we need to get ourselves to. We need more customers to make sure that we can plug every gap. If staff doesn't do what they're meant to do, yes, I'll fire them because there's other staff to replace them. No hard feelings. It's just that I make a choice today, right? I'm saying everything almost comes down to us and what we don't do almost always when it comes to someone doing us wrong. Ronald, please.
Oh.
Go on. Is that Andre? Please feel free. Do it. Go on, please. I'll give you 30 seconds, Andre.
I was just going to add just like a little bit on top of that, because about what you don't do, because I was reading the title again, Being Your Authentic Self in Business. Would you work with someone you had a disagreement with? In my head, my question is, what happens when you don't disagree and you just constantly become agreeable? That can be dangerous too, because then it means that the company misses out on your ideas. And you can often build resentment as a result of not feeling safe enough to speak up. And so there's a lot of companies where there's really poor workplace culture because there's people who don't disagree and they just feel like their job is on the line if they did. And so there's an element of actually having courage to disagree as well. So when you're on the flip side and you see someone disagreeing with you, for me anyway, that's something I consider as well. Like this, I genuinely appreciate when they do disagree because it doesn't happen very often. People have a fear of conflict all over the world. And I think we often suffer as humanity as a result of that. And it's not the conflict that's the problem, it's that we don't know how to resolve it. So I think that if I saw something recently where they were saying how if, I'm going to butcher it now, but it was basically like, the risk of the disagreement needs to be less than the benefit of it for you to actually act. Because I think the problem is we think if there's a disagreement, I'll lose my job, which is huge. So actually, I'll just be quiet because the small win I'll get is tiny. So it's just another thing to add on to that on the flip side of the conversation we're having as well.
No, look, I agree with you entirely. No, I think the thing it's called groupthink, right? Where everyone says yes to everything, that everyone thinks the same, which is not really true. And everyone loses out when that happens. Ronald, let me come to you, my friend. Let me come to you.
Oh, thank you.
Anything you want to add to our conversation? I mean, so you've been with us all the way through. Thank you so much.
Yes, thank you. I had my ups and downs with the internet, but I'm thinking of a few times that I've disagreed with my manager. I worked in a corporate environment, not self-employed, but in corporate. And I was in a particular customer account and I had a problem with a machine. And I told my manager, that we needed support, and support lived out of town. He didn't want us to have support because it's expensive. Well, I insisted that a particular person came to come down to this account that I was responsible for and to assist me to resolve this problem. Well, eventually the man did come, and it kicked his behind too. And then after we finally got the problem resolved, days later, my manager came back to me and said, I'm glad you insisted that we get help to resolve this problem.
Yeah, no, it's a lesson in making sure we do the right thing, right?
For the sake of the customer.
Yes.
My customers were important enough that if my phone rang in the middle of the night, 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock, I would head to a customer's account to service their machines because I knew they needed them and they depended on me.
That's what true love looks like, right? I say that sincerely. That's what true love looks like to me as well. Really, we can all be that way. We really can.
No, we can't. There was a price to pay. There was a price to pay, and I've since learned that now that I've gotten older. But I was committed to my customers' missions to get their work out. And I was going to be there and manage the problem. I was the man on site to handle the issues.
Awesome. It's a way to be. It's a lesson to learn, right? Go on, Anthony.
Listen, that's ego, but people think of ego as like I can't handle hard things. No, I think when you are proud of something, but it's something that you put in that effort, and so it's connected to the growth, right? Then you find things like that where you'll wake up and do that. But if you don't have pride for anything because you don't feel, valuable, you don't feel connected, and then there's no reason to wake up early to do anything because you feel like you'll be replaced. And I don't think there's any easy way maybe to get that. You have to do hard things. You have to get yourself to do stuff to see the value in it.
No, I totally agree with you. I don't know whether I'm on mute, hopefully not. Yeah, no, I agree with you. It is finding that joy in our heart. But again, it comes back to Zara's point earlier. It's a love thing. If you don't love your customers, if you don't love what you're doing, if you don't love, yourself, you can't love other people, and then that's where you become what Coach was saying earlier, easily offended.
See, I'm sure Phillips has lots of things to tell about when he was in the army. Okay, now when you're doing something for the nation, so you're being challenged by your seniors lots of times, not just once, because you're on the ground and they're sitting somewhere in the GSQ, in the headquarters, and they're saying they're giving you instructions most of the times, do this. Well, you are on the ground and you know everything what is happening, but so there are so many times when you get challenged by your seniors. Like I remember one of the time when I was on the airport and I was doing the aircraft loading and I caught some drugs on Etihad Airline, on Etihad Airline. But then you have to suffer through all the case goes, all those legal cases, being as a hero or something. But that's fine because you now you have to answer 146 agencies for next 8 months. Oh, well, maybe that wasn't a heroic act Philip did or Zarar did or anybody else did to like a national, something that went to on a national level. That was an achievement. But, you get trained. You in the end, when you look back, you have so many achievements now. When you look back, yes, there is a list of achievements. That's fine. There were some managers who were not understanding that time, but then later they gave you some certificates, some awards, some rewards, some souvenirs to make you feel better. And then that's become your stories to tell other people. But again, love is everything. Like I remember the airlines were very happy. Later, the managers were very happy. They were saying me, hero, 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 and everything. When they understood, he has been through some pain. He has been through some challenges. Later, it turned out to be love.
It really is. Again, I'm not saying this. I'm no better than anyone else here. Now, trust me. So the days I used to be seriously furious. The fastest way to piss any off is not paying what you're meant to pay, right? I can't explain to you. I used to see red, literally see red. Throwing phones in the toilet. I almost throw the computer in the toilet just because one customer hasn't paid me. It took me a long time, and I had to learn about mindset, self-awareness. Is what Sean will call it, right? I had to learn about myself and realize there is the other way, as Zara saying. Well, see, when a customer doesn't pay me, I muster all the niceness I can possibly muster, and I call them. You haven't paid me. What's the story? You know what? Seriously, I haven't got one wrong yet. They all pay. They pay, if not as soon as they can. Maybe not that very moment, but still, they all pay in the end. In the days they get pissed off, they will not pay because now I'm annoyed. I've broken our connection, right? I hate you. Damn, I was so wrong. But I learned a lesson, and it does come down to replacing that hatred with love in my heart. So rather than me talking, let me give you a chance. For anyone who wants to leave us with a final message, please do. Take your chance. Go on, Philip.
Hey, I'll talk.
Please,
Hey,
feel free.
no, and the biggest thing that I hear from all this, it's about if you allow your emotions to control your reactions, it all boils down to you're going to lose because everybody's going to have their capability of manipulating you and triggering you intentionally. I had that problem with my ex. He was a master at it. But once you learn that, oh, that's why you were doing it, just so you can have a reaction that made you look like a victim and me the perpetrator when it was the other way around. It's understanding that and going, I can't control her. All I can do is control my responses and how I process whatever situation they have. And that's part of working with other cultures and everything, because now I just get to apply it here and let's have fun and let's love and see what we can gain by coming together rather than trying to find ways to separate us and not have a camaraderie. And that's where I loved about a lot of different cultures. It's about family. Well, you're individuals here in the United States and go fend for yourself type of mentality. And but when it boils down to love your family, you you are the master of what you choose to do every single day. And that's all I had to say. And you guys are awesome. It's a great group of people from all over the place. You guys deserve to have your voices heard because we can agree on 95% of everything. Why should I destroy a relationship for 5% differences?
Yeah. That's a good way to look at it, my friend. America will find itself again, Philip. I hope. I pray one day. You never know, right? We have to be hopeful. Anyone else want to leave us know with your final thoughts for this event, not in life as a whole, right?
Yeah, I guess one thing I'd leave is just a question. What if it's not about you? Just that, like as a genuine question, because if we answer to that, then we might find that actually there's either something else to it, or we may have at least room to step away from it a little bit and learn something. Because if it's not about us, then we can actually see it for what it might actually be.
Yes, it's not a rucksack, it's not a bag. Let it go, right? Sean, please. You're muted. Okay, let me see. It's fine. Go.
My computer's dragging, so I'm hitting the button, and it's not.
Don't smash it up. That's what I say.
It's overheated. It's tired. It hasn't worked this hard in weeks. I like the way Andre closed it with a question. You know, my question is, if the hurt from the past wasn't part of the equation, what would you be free to build right now?
Yeah. Now, two questions that we're left with. Of course, those who are watching Team Replay, please feel free to answer the question. You know, and also those in the comments, you know, feel free to answer the question, right? You know, if this thing wasn't affecting you, what could we really be? What would we be doing, right? Anthony, I'm going to come to you in a second. Say, I want to acknowledge Rosemary's amazing comment. I listened to a podcast this week by Leila Hamosi and titled "All Emotions Are Welcome, All Behaviors Are Not," and I agree 100%. Yeah, that's really where it's at, right? You know, we can feel, but we don't need to take it to the next level. So Linda, thank you for joining us as well. And so you say that you're somewhere else right now. But thank you for being there, for joining us. I appreciate everyone who gives us a minute of their time. Let's learn like you amazing people, the hours that you indulge me with. I'll take it. Thank you so much. Hopefully I'll repay you as well. You know, and make it worth your while. Mr. Anthony, what do you want to leave us with?
I want to piggyback into another question. How do we learn to love others before we learn to love ourselves? And what does that look like for us as individuals in our collective?
That's a whole conversation, right? I'm brave enough. I'll bring it back to the conversation. I really will. Look, DM me if you don't mind.
All right.
I'll put it in the chat. I can't get it from there, right? And I said, let's talk about it. How can we love? How can we love anyone if we don't love ourselves? What does that really mean? Where do we start? Because again, I think our business growth relies on this. It depends on this love thing we're talking about. And where do we start? Ooh. Sean, I was hand it over to a coach, a mindset genius who knows more than I do. Sean's that person on stage right now. So we'll talk about it one day, Sean. Right? Let's talk about it next time. Why not? I'm brave.
Right. Well, and there's a famous book. It's still the New York Times #1 book for as long as there's been a New York Times book list, and it says, "Love your neighbor as yourself." And I think that's a great foundation. If you can't love yourself, how do you know how to love anybody?
Yeah. That book's called The Bible, by the way, in case anyone's wondering which the best-selling book. It's still selling the best that ever has been, always will be, right? Thank you so much, Sean. But no, Anthony, please, we'll hopefully join us next time. Let's talk about it properly.
Anthony, you're so smart. Gosh, you're so wonderfully literate. Can I share just something with the group?
Of course, please.
So my favorite professor from undergraduate, he just called me quickly, and that's why I kind of went on mute. He was like, "I have a reminder on my phone to call you, but I can't remember who you are." And I was like, Professor Parks, or John. I call him John because he's 89 now. And I was like, "You were my favorite professor. I was a student of yours at Miami of Ohio." And he was like, "You have a son, right?" And it just like a little thing clicked back in his brain. He was like, you bought my book." And I was like, yeah, that's me. I was in your thesis study. And he was like, "Okay, well, you take care. I'm sorry my brain doesn't work the same." And it just the fact that he had to call in the notes to call me, and I knew I didn't want to overwhelm him with being like, "Why don't you remember me?" But it's interesting how the human brain works in those capacities, kind of like we were discussing today. So just wanted to share with everyone.
Yeah, it's love and care all around, right? You never know what someone's going to remember. Things that stick in our mind. It's a good thing. Look, I'll thank you all that spent your time with me. I'll thank you all who joined us in the audience as well. There's many more I'm sure I haven't welcomed. Do forgive me. It's about time. It's 2.5 hours in after my friends go, right?
Annie,
I'll leave.
I'm going to leave with last thing. Okay?
Go on, please. Please.
I am that stranger, the story I told in the starting about the beggar. Okay? And the book name is The Power of Now. I'm that stranger who has nothing to give you and who is telling you to look inside. Not inside the box, but somewhere even closer inside yourself. And then we are going to find every answer.
Yeah.
Inshallah.
It's true. It's true. It's true. You know, again,
You have so much to give. You have so much to give.
we do. Of course we do.
You have so much to give. I've
We
heard
all
you
do.
so many
We-
times.
We all do, Jody.
Namaste. All right. You're not the beggar in that book. I've read that.
No. This is, I love Zara. Zara speaks in Zara kind of way. I know, you know, Zara doesn't feel like the beggar. We get the point, right? You know, and it is within us. It's all within us. If only we knew, right? But I think it's about chipping away, Zara, at the little things that get in our way. Hence Andre's question and Sean's question. You know, it's a little thing. I said I could have said I've done mindset coaching. There's 12 programs. I've done all the courses. I'm good now. It's not true. Every day I have to keep working and learning a bit more and a bit more and a bit more. This is one of the topics I've learned recently. You know, and you know, again, for those who don't know me too well, right? I'm tortured. Right. Apart from Joni's dinosaur book, I'm not a dinosaur, that's my note. Not a real one anyway, right? I can't read a book and not question, is that me? Is that me? Can I learn something? What am I meant to learn from this? You know? When I met Ronald this afternoon, he's talking, I'm thinking, am I the workaholic who's unhappy in life, really? That's why I'm working so hard. No. But I give myself the space to ask myself that question. The self-awareness you're talking about, Zara. You know, really. You know, but that's just I can't read a book without really being tortured. Am I making these mistakes? Am I doing these things that this book is trying to get me to change? Because I want to believe that nothing happens by chance. You know, there's a divine spiritual thing behind everything that who we are, what we do, where we are. We're all here for a reason, right? Look, I thank you all. I really do. Andre, we need to catch up, my friend. Of course, I know you got your event on the 19th, right? What's the event?
This is with Christiana, and it's moving past miscarriage. So it's called The Fear of Grief, Resilience, and Reproductive Journeys. So we've got it's me talking about the stress and the burnout side of things, emotional exhaustion. Christiana talking about her experiences and how she helps people who are experiencing miscarriage, scared of having another baby, all of those things around it. We've got Dr. Noella, who's looking at preconception and how to ensure your probabilities of carrying to term. And then we got Zion, Mr. Positivity, talking about hope and being able to move forward. So it's going to be really good next week on the 19th.
Please share the link. Share the link in the comments.
Please share the link because Christiana, oh God, I love that girl. She is just amazing. And I will be there. I will be there tomorrow to talk to you. Okay.
Awesome. My friends, look, you know, I'll leave the last message, probably where I started, right? Our battle against the elapsed injustices need not continue. They're gone. Any remaining patterns or remaining negative particles tied to that inner struggle. It's an inner struggle. That's what it is, right? When we hold on to these things. We may not realize, but it's an inner struggle. It's still there. You know, they have to be this. They can go now. They can let them go. Let them go. Seriously. Look, I can't thank my friends who shown up for me today. But do connect, do connect. And Anthony, we need to catch up. We haven't spoken for years. No, this is especially not since the video came in anyway, right?
It's been quite a while. Yes.
Let's catch up.
Definitely. I look forward to the next one.
It's every 2 weeks. If anyone's wondering, we're here every 2 weeks, every second, every other Wednesday. You know, so we'll talk about your topic. You know, the next one, right? How can you love yourself? You love others. You can't love yourself, right? Where do we start? I love that topic. You know, look, thank you so much, everyone. Do enjoy your night. Enjoy the rest of your week as well. Bye, everyone. Bye, everyone.
Thank you, everybody. Thank you.
Oh, you guys have a good one.
Bye-bye.
Take care, Sean.
achieve success with global.media.com and celebrate it with or without champagne or rum. Achieve success with global.media.com.